Stop the right. Okay. Good afternoon to all of you. Let me welcome all of you to this webinar that we are having on AI or artificial intelligence, and of course the AI applications in finance. Today we have with us our keynote speaker, Prabhash Galagedera, who's of course Sri Lankan, but is currently based in Australia. Then we also have our council member, Senior Professor Kennedy Gunawardena, also our moderator, Mr. Jehan Perimpanayagam, our CEO, Mr. Kosala Disanayaka, and our Senior Director, Ms. Shanti Maheswaran, and all our participants who are present here. In fact, we have been very encouraged with the number of participants who have registered, Prabhas, almost close to 700, which I think is a very good number, but I'm sure we'll have about 400 to 500 who will normally attend. So, as you know, Prabhas Galagedara has been associated with the CMA right from the start. He was a founder member of CMA Sri Lanka, and currently a fellow member of the CMA. So, Prabhash, we are very happy that you are here with us, and we are indeed pleased to welcome you because this is our 25th anniversary, and we are holding this webinar to celebrate our 25 years of existence. And since you have been there with us for this long period of time, I think it is, we are very pleased that you have been able to be at the starting area, and also now that you are associated with us, assisting both our members, our students, and also our other corporate participants who are here with us. So Prabhash Galagedar is a General Manager, Data and AI of Quantum Telstra, and is the co-founder Cora AI and AI Front Office. I think one of his biggest achievements is the book he has written, AI for Finance Professionals. In fact, I was just discussing with Prabhas, and he said that we can make it available to our members and students as a publication of CMA. So thank you very much, Prabhas, for that very kind gesture of yours. And I'm sure that, as I said, you have been associated with us from the beginning, and this would be indeed something very good. So we also have with us, as I said, Mr. Jehan Perimpanayagam, who's the CEO of Informate World or Informate Private Limited, which is a part of the IT BPM industry. And when I first mentioned to Prabhas, he said that Prabhas and Jehan have been very closely associated because they were both with the John Keel's IT sector and, of course, Informate. So I'm sure Jehan is smiling. I'm sure Prabhas is also smiling to meet old friends. And CMA has been able to do it for you. So I will really not be going into any details about Prabhas, because I told him that it is better that he really goes into this and maybe explains about it. And I must say that in the CMA new syllabus, we have gone into great depth in the digital area. And of course, now we will be adding the new areas that may come in artificial intelligence. One of the things that we have done is not only the theory area, but also for them to get the practice, which I think is one of the good things, so that then they will be able to readily go into the private sector and then work there. So I'm sure we can hear more from Mr. Prabhas Galagedara, because he is really very, very conversant in this. And I think I mentioned that he's also a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, and he also launched this book with the Chartered Accountants. So now he is giving it also to the management accountants, which I think is a very, very valuable profession that has been made. So I will now invite Mr. Prabhas Galagedara to commence his presentation, and of course thereafter Jehan will be maybe as moderator, where he will have some questions, plus also the participants, where you can send your questions on Q&A, and we will be able to deal with it. So over to you, Prabhas.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's amazing to see, the progress of CMA. And, when I first joined the institute back in 2000, when I was working at John Keel's, I couldn't imagine, where CMA would go. And, I think it's a pioneering, institute in Sri Lanka. And, what you have done to the profession, not just through CMA, Professor Vatavala, with CA Sri Lanka as well as AAT and CMA, is amazing. Great to see, CMA go from strength to strength, and glad that I basically made the decision to be a founding member and, a member of CMA. Professor, you can see my screen now?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, now fine. I think you can put to presentation mode. All right,
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, so my journey, of course, started off back in Sri Lanka. I'll do a very quick introduction. So I'm a qualified accountant and a member of CMA, member of CA Sri Lanka, as well as CMA as well. And I worked at EY Colombo, and then, kind of ended up working for John Keels, where I met Jehan, and we used to work very closely together. And then, of course, Jehan was there for my book launch last year when I basically had the book launch in Sri Lanka. So we have been friends for a long time. Glad that you came here without my knowledge. Jan, you're one of those very few probably who knows about me very well. So I'm pretty sure you will be able to kind of get a lot of insight out of me. So just on the AI front, so when I was doing my studies, I did study on two streams. One was the finance stream, where I basically kind of ended up becoming a professional accountant with multiple institutes. And also at the same time, I basically did the IT stream. So I basically was qualified in IT as well. And then back and forth from time to time, I moved, between finance and non-finance or technology. And then about 10 years ago, around 2015, 2016 time, I made the decision to basically go into data and AI. And it was very, very unknown at that time. Data and AI was not a huge area, but, obviously it became very, very popular over last 2 3 years. So I was very lucky to basically got into something that was going to basically go um, you know have a very boom cycle. And glad that I did make the decision at that time. And right now, so I'm kind of in the middle of that as a result of it. So that's kind of a bit of my background. So finance and technology, so IT, and then basically worked in EY Colombo and John Keys. Then I basically made the move to go overseas and came to Australia about 17 18 years ago. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of introduction and context setting on AI, and we'll go into AI applications in finance after. And I'll probably kind of give a simple plan for accountants, professional finance professionals to basically implement in the workplace. And then, of course, Jehan will moderate Q&A. He'll have his own Q&A questions, as well as any questions from the audience. That's kind of the high level agenda. So let me get into it. I just want to basically kind of paint a picture of how we have evolved over last 100 years in terms of technology. And I basically picked one data point, which is kind of the most valuable company over last 100 years in each basically decade, going back to basically after First World War in 1920s, right? So as you can see, right? So each decade has basically a pioneering technology shaping the world. Um, Obviously, US steel was very, very dominant during that, early phase. Then steel industry gave the way for, car industry. GM, American car maker, became the most valuable company. All those companies are basically American companies, and that shows the dominance of the American economy over last 100 years, right? So, and then the car industry after that, basically telecommunication industry became very prominent, right? So this was basically way back in 40s and 50s, and General Electrics, basically kind of a consumer good market, became very, very prominent, probably after Second World War. And we saw the emergence of computing world with the emergence of IBM after. So you've seen the emergence of IBM from 50s to 60s, and that basically dominance continued through latter part of 20th century. And then you saw, probably in our recent memory, the emergence of computing world with Microsoft, Bill Gates basically, launching Windows and basic computers. PC revolution basically kicked off since then. And then last 20 years, obviously, what is very close to us is basically the emergence of mobile technologies. And you saw the emergence of Apple phones and smartphones, which basically paved the way for all the apps we use today, the computing power we use on our pockets. And now we basically heard the name NVIDIA, which is an AI chip maker for the first time, and a hardware company in the ecosystem of computing has basically emerged as the most valuable company, right? So that's kind of the history of where we are coming from. And last 20 years, particularly from 2000 onwards, has been very, very influential and, very, very dominant in our lives. So what basically sits underneath that graph is three charts, basically, that shows the global income, the average income, and then the global poverty and the life expectancy. As you can see, the global income rose significantly in the 2000s, and at the same time, the global poverty rate significantly came down. More importantly, life expectancy basically increased globally. Right? All these are global averages, so you wouldn't necessarily see uh, known facts that we are familiar with. But globally, the technological evolution has basically paved the way for higher income, lower poverty. A lot of people are coming out of poverty, and then as a result, we live longer and more healthier. So that's kind of the world we are living, and we are going into a cycle now, probably another 10-year cycle of a global dominance with another technology. NVIDIA is basically kind of the symbol of that on this chart, which is AI. That's the kind of world we are living in, and that's where we are basically heading. So when you basically look at a chart like that, you can predict almost what's going to happen next 10 years, right? AI is going to be the dominant force for next 10 years, and that is undoubtedly going to be the case, right? So then, when you look at the finance, right? So when you map the finance profession and our evolution and how we have come along over the last 100 years, we also basically progressed significantly, right? So we basically started with manual ledgers, and that survived for long period of time. We used calculators, and then we basically went into large computing like, mainframe computers. Some of us still remember AS400s in some large organizations in Sri Lanka as well. And then we saw the evolution of PC computing and probably software applications that basically automate most of what we did as accountants into those ERP platforms and software applications. Now we are talking about cloud computing and different applications on finance. But along the same time, our regulatory frameworks also evolved, right? So we basically saw the emergence of professional bodies 100 years ago, like, most of the professional bodies are 100 plus years. And then we basically saw the emergence of GAAP, accounting standards, different compliance mechanisms, integrated reporting, SCG reporting, ESG reporting. Every decade we have basically evolved the compliance regulatory framework. So we keep evolving, we keep adapting technology, we keep using new technology, right? And we keep developing new roles as a result of it as well. So back in the day, all bookkeepers were the basically people who manage all the finance activities. Auditors were very prominent. Cost accountant, tax accountants were very critical roles. Public accounting, corporate accounting became very prominent. And then we saw the emergence of risk accountant, corporate governance, analysts, all that come up. Now we are talking about business partners and partnering with different businesses. So when you basically step back, right? So there are three key points. We have over centuries uh, adapted technologies. We have gone with the flow. We have gone with the technology. We have embraced technology as accountants. We have basically leveraged technology for our primary work, primary core activities. We have basically kind of, eliminated some of the old roles and defined new roles. We have basically regulated we have developed new compliance mechanisms, new frameworks around that. And we have remained still the ultimate custodian of corporate responsibilities, even to date, even with the technology. So we have somehow managed to basically, change without our knowledge. The work we have done has changed. The way we have done that is also changing. And we have become really good change agents in our own professions as well. So that's kind of how we have basically profession has spent basically the last 100 years, and we are really good change makers. That's who we are. That's what our DNA is as accountants, as finance professionals, right? So moving on to the case for AI. And I'm going to show you what I basically looked at over last um, um, 8 weeks. This is what I saw um, over last 8 weeks. In fact, this financial year. The AI agents in multiple different areas. Now, my role basically is dual or multiple faceted. So I work as a corporate executive for one of the largest ASX listed companies or listed companies in Australia. And as part of that, I basically work on data and AI related products that we basically commercialize to our enterprise customers. Also outside work, I basically work as a startup founder. I have a couple of startups, basically one in the medical tech area, the other one in the architecture area. And also I basically advise startups. So I get to see a lot of basically new startups come up, and I get to see, what they do and where they basically focus on. So I've seen an AI company, AI agent, that is working like a management consultant, just exactly like a Bain, McKinsey type top management consultant, really, really well. So AI basically working as an management consultant. I have a technology company I'm a founder of, that we are developing a doctor, right, who can serve patients. It's pretty good. I couldn't show it because of the sensitivity of it, but it's working really, really well. So that leaving that to aside, then I've seen office admin role, AI for office admin work, like, secretarial work, right? So these AI agents can answer phones, reply to questions, and then have a conversation with the caller, make bookings on websites or their calendars independently. So if you have a secretary, an AI secretary, these AI secretaries can do all what your human secretaries do. I wouldn't say all, but most what they do. Right? I also have seen office managers, AI agents created like office managers, working like office managers. I've also seen senior manager type, ones. I have also seen AI agents who can sell things, make a call, have a conversation with someone and pitch your products, and basically kind of go into a sales cycle. And I have also seen, on the other side, very, very complex architecture being done through AI. And in fact, I'm personally involved in one of them. So you can design buildings, you can redesign train stations, you can design roads, railways, large scale infrastructure. So that's what I've seen over the last 8 weeks, right? So when we talk next time, hopefully, let's say in a 12 months time, the landscape would be completely different. There's so much happening so quickly that you wouldn't be able to even predict what you're going to see in 12 months time. So in the marketplace that I'm basically working on, there are a lot of AI star companies coming up with tools that work like human, can take action like human, can behave like human. So that's last 2 months basically. I was on leave till end of January, and this is what I've seen over last 2 months, right? So what that means is there's a massive boom going on at the moment in terms of AI work, right? So I had a conversation with a venture capitalist this afternoon, a friend of mine who used to work with me, and he basically invest in tech startups. A guy who is based in Silicon Valley, so he's basically moving back and forth between Melbourne and Silicon Valley. He said that he invested in 80 startups over last 6 months, all AI related. So large scale investments, right? So they are basically investing heavily onto AI startups. There is a huge amount of basically money flowing into AI ventures. So there is a huge boom going on at the moment. So that's where we are. And then when you look at who is betting on this AI boom, you can see on the left-hand side of my left-hand side, basically on this slide, the companies who are betting on all large, global leaders are betting on AI. They in fact have significantly advanced AI capabilities for their customers as well as their basically own processes. Then on the right-hand side, who are basically betting on AI, all the basically usual players, US, China, UK, and then you have basically unusual players like Israel. So Israel is a leader in AI technologies. Then you have India, China basically emerging for the first time on top 10, right? These are the players you never saw on the first, second industrial revolution, right? Or third industrial revolution. So they're seeing they're basically featuring on this list now. All the all the basically large economies are heavily investing in AI. So everyone is betting, right? So all the companies, all the countries. So why not you? So this is a way to look at the AI stack. Its AI stack is multi-layered. So there is a hardware layer. It's called a chips layer. And you may have heard the name NVIDIA, which is the most valuable company last year, right? And they are basically leading there. Then you have the AI compute and storage layer. There, this is cloud technologies, right? If you're not familiar with these languages. So Microsoft, Google, Amazon are leading there. So AI, the next layer is the AI models, the large language models. You may have heard the word before. OpenAI, Gemini, Grok, um, and there are so many players in there. So I've just put one example each. The next layer is applications where, agents are basically coming out now, right? So multiple applications. So I saw an AI application, AI agent working like a tax advisor the other day. And in fact, I was basically helping the lady define how the market should look like for that. And, that agent can file, advise you on it it was an Australian, AI agent and on the Australian tax law, can file the tax return for you and can basically advise on different tax regulations, right? So there are applications for us to use in different areas of of our ecosystem. And of course, universities are heavily investing on education. They're revamping their curriculums, still figuring out what to incorporate, what not to incorporate. That includes obviously CMA, all the professional bodies as well. Everyone is changing the curriculum to suit the ongoing trend, right? So that's how I normally look at it, the AI stack. Now AI jobs in high demand and significant premium is being commanded on those ones. And most of the AI jobs basically get a lot of basically premium in the marketplace. There are AI programmers that I know that in some of AI startups that I closely associate with get more than $1 million a year in dollars, right? So a programmer's salary was probably about 150,000 2, 3 years ago. Now they're getting basically, I'm talking about top notch, about more millions of dollars for their skills in high demand. Um, just to touch on one quick point, right? The history of AI. This is not something that came out all of a sudden in 2020s, right? So this goes back way back to 1940s when Alan Turing, the guy who basically cracked the Enigma machine, the Germans' secret code, and that paved the way for the Allied forces to win the Second World War, is in fact considered the father of AI, the father of modern computing, right? So this, and every decade we have seen significant progress in terms of innovation. So that's where we are, right? So there's a huge AI boom going on with AI agents now, and AI agents coming out for most of the skills we need. And they're basically getting really advanced, and to a point that, you wonder whether you're going to basically, how you're going to compete with them, right? So we need to basically come back to how we basically kind of work with these AI agents towards the end, right? The biggest question we all have is, multiple questions probably, right? Are we ready? Is this real? Do we have the skills to, adapt? This doesn't impact my area because I'm doing so specialized work. Can I do my work, right? These are the questions we basically come up with, not just you, even myself, right? But we have this dilemma. I don't know anything about it. I haven't seen any of that. Is this real? Do we really need this in Sri Lanka or wherever you work, right? That they are the thoughts you all have, and I'm not surprised that you're basically thinking through these, questions. And we all are at the moment, right? Trying to figure out how to navigate this complexity and kind of rapidly evolving area. Now, that's context setting and a bit of AI and how AI is cracking at the moment. I'm going to go into AI applications in finance. Here I will touch on very hardcore finance applications as well as some related applications, and give you guys my basically perspective on how things are happening in those respective areas. Also have outlined some example applications out there that you can go and play around with and Google and find out how they do, and kind of learn from those ones and take it into your respective areas if you are interested, right? First and foremost is, I thought, okay, let's start off with the external reporting, right? If you are working in a listed company or a large public or private company with multiple shareholders, right? You got to basically do external shareholder reporting, right? The best practice today is, leveraging AI on your annual reports and giving your shareholders, your stakeholders, very customized AI-driven annual reporting capability or reporting capability. So these annual reports basically have features to customize your own report. Right? Let's say you are a regulator, right? So you're working for Sri Lanka accounting standard body, auditing standard body, right? So one of the standard bodies or a regulator, right? You don't want to basically go through the director's report or maybe not CEO's report or chairman's report. You're only worried about the compliance to standards, right? So you can basically go and generate a customized report for your needs. You don't have to go through that 250-page annual report, which I used to do for JKH. Jihan might remember that, right? So you don't need that. You will have to come up with the data and the framework around that. But then, the most modern, North Star organizations provide these capabilities. You can generate your own one if you are a tax agent and tax person. You can generate the respective areas for you. If you are a student, you can generate the content you want. You can also ask different questions. You don't have to generate in a report. All what you cares about is a couple of data points from an annual report and get a basically question answered. You can basically interact through a chat window, or either voice generated, voice activated, or text activated, right? Or if you want to get a projection for next 5 years, you can ask the AI to generate, can you generate a forecast for me for next 5 years for JKH as an example, right? And it will generate that. So that you have multiple capabilities given to your external stakeholders or your stakeholders to extract what they want. Right? And this is a trend that is probably maybe shaping up in Sri Lanka as well, right? And underneath all of these capabilities, what they do is they have a data layer that basically, brings your financial data, audited data into a data layer, and then the AI algorithms basically do the rest of the work to basically empower you with voice activated summaries or kind of text activated summaries or generate beautiful visualizations or generate your forecast and so on and so forth, right? So that's kind of the external reporting landscape. Then when you go to logistics, now you might argue whether logistics is in finance, but I see this as an associated area within finance, like the inventory management is relevant. The bad debts is relevant, sorry, inventory write-offs is relevant. So they're all basically kind of somewhat related to finance functions, right? So in my organization, logistic basically sits within the finance function, right? Most of the organizations where actually provide a product, right? So you basically either manufacture yourself and import raw materials and manufacture yourself, or import finished goods and basically put a brand on top of it and resell. You basically have to have a logistic operation. You in-source, you store it, you basically send it out based on the sales orders. All of that are basically generally in Australia, automated, fully automated. Most of those automations happen during the time of COVID because of the heavy restrictions we had in Australia, right? So most of the supermarkets couldn't get staff, so they immediately went into a significant investment to automate most of the warehouses. What they have is they have material handling equipment like robots, these flying robots or mini aircrafts, and then basically other robotic devices that basically roll over on the floor, and then they basically go and scan the right area, figure out where the item is, pick it and then bring it to the packing area, and then the packing robots basically pack it and dispatch, right? It's fully automated. So we had lots of people basically doing these work, mainly shift work, right? So we had 2 or 3 shifts basically in warehouses, and often basically operated only for maybe 15 hours a day, not more than that. They were not 24 hours. Now these robots can basically do 24/7. As and when you get it, they basically do the pick, pack, and dispatch. That's why the same day delivery or one hour delivery is a very common thing. I think most of the organizations in Australia basically deliver things on the same day. That's because of the automations in the logistics. So as a result of it, what's the outcome on the organization doing this? As a significant capital investment to get to here, but the cost of delivering, cost of warehousing, cost of your holding costs has significantly come down, right? Your overall profitability has improved as a result of it. And then you're getting much more higher throughput if you are an organization serving another industry, right? So you can basically serve more customers as a result of it. Your capacity has significantly gone up. So there's significant financial upside in terms of basically increased revenue as well as reduced cost as a result of it. So what is sitting underneath is robotic devices. You have basically kind of robotic devices in different shapes or forms, and then AI algorithms and software applications taking care of it. So that's kind of the logistics side of things in basically large organizations in Australia. And if you go to a warehouse like Amazon warehouse, this is what you see in those ones. Even in our warehouse that we run, we basically send about 10 million devices, like mobile devices, a year. They're all fully automated. Warehouse is fully automated. So moving into a different area, so I'll get a quick break to have a sip of water. Financial planning and forecasting. Financial planning and forecasting is a very, very regular exercise most of the organizations do. The company that I work for, we do a forecast every month, rolling forecast. a serious, forecasting exercise every quarter. So annual forecasting cycle to set the annual plan and a 3-year plan. So when we were doing them manually, there was a huge number of people involved, thousands of people involved from each division, basically forecasting their line of business forecast, might be the revenue, might be the cost one, and then a lot of Excel files to consolidate all of that. Right? So that's how we did it. No different to how you did it as well. Right? Now we have tools to take care of all of those forecasts, right? So with those tools basically have embedded AI calculations, algorithms taking care of your run rate, right? So you can easily get a feel of your seasonality, your, run rates and things like that based on your historical data. And you basically get the algorithms to do your forecast easily. So then also you feed your marketing plans for the future into those algorithms, and it will basically give you a adjusted forecast on the run rate number. And once you basically have those run, you get a consolidated one. Now, many people who are involved in that are not involved anymore, right? So they get the forecast and the outcome and now, right? So the number of people involved is very less. Number of hours spent on the planning and forecasting cycle is significantly lower. As a result, the cost of basically doing activities has significantly come down. And in fact, the biggest upside in my view is the accuracy you get. Human errors basically cause us to sometimes go to market and reset our basically market guidance as well. In 1 year, our CEO had to go to market 3 times because of human errors, right? So this was probably 2017, 2018 time, and it was very embarrassing for the CEO to do that. And obviously, 3 people lost jobs because of that, purely because of human errors. Now they're all basically kind of done very quickly with minimum errors. Obviously, we have a lot of guardrails to check those ones. And as a result, the efficiency has significantly improved. Now, there are basically some examples in our plan, and so on and so forth. So there are basically kind of some example tools that you can use in your organization if you are not using any of the common ones like SAP ones and so on and so forth, right? So I'm not sure what financial systems you are commonly used in Sri Lanka, but I just put some examples here. Moving on to the next one. Now, fraud is a major issue in this part of the world, mainly due to online fraud, like phone-based fraud, and physical theft in stores and things like that. So online fraud is about 3 billion, another few billions on the phone. Physical is about 9 billion. So we basically lose about 20 billion a year, which is probably bigger than most of the countries around this region to loss to fraudsters. And most of these fraudsters are basically not Australian-based fraudsters, right? So they're Nigerian scams and come from different parts of the world. Now we extensively use algorithms to monitor transactions and detect fraudsters real time using algorithms. Example, so when in the company I work for, I said, we send probably 10 million devices every year. We used to get a lot of fraudulent ones through our website. So the fraudsters go online and order devices, right? So mobile, very expensive iPhones and Samsung devices. And then we don't have time to check every single one manually. So what ended up happening was basically we pick and dispatch and send those devices to fraudsters. So our bad debt loss for a year was about a billion. To the fraudsters, right? So we started using a lot of AI algorithms to basically filter. So we have a real-time fraud engine that works on our website, and every order basically is filtered through that. And that real-time fraud engine basically identifies and filters the frauds. If the algorithm classifies a good order, it'll go to the warehouse for pick, patch, and dispatch. If the algorithm basically flags it, we won't send it. So that way, there's tenfold reduction in bad debts as a result of it. There are commonly, available tools to use as well. And, these are some of the examples, and you can use some of those available tools if your basically organization doesn't have enough manpower and, capabilities to do it yourself. Moving on to the next one, risk management. Risk management is basically a big area for board of directors, senior leaders in any organization. If you're a director of of entities, and I'm pretty sure Professor Watawala has been a director of many large enterprises in Sri Lanka and probably elsewhere as well. Your primary responsibility is to manage the risk profile of the organization, right? So we used to do all of this manually, right? So board of directors used to get different reports and scorecards and whatnot to basically kind of get informed every quarter what the risk profile is, what are the key risks are, where we are within threshold, where we are not within threshold, all of that, right? All of that was done by either the chief risk officer or internal auditor, or basically combination of the two, or maybe even the CFO in some organizations, right? Now, industry has moved to a framework called Risk ERP. It's like a GIL, where you can define your key categories within your organization. In our case, we have 12 different categories, right? It's like a scope P&L. We have 12 different categories. Every category has a scope. There's a threshold. So if I take climate risk as an example, so climate risk threshold is 2, right? But at the moment, our climate risk threshold is higher than 2, because most of our mobile towers are powered by electricity. So we want to bring it down below that. So this risk ERP system basically quantifies each individual risk category and then assigns a score automatically. And it basically is that activity is assigned to a person within the organization. It's just like a GL with basically cost centers. When you roll up, you get the scorecard for the entire organization. And this is available on a regular basis because everything has been automated. Now, most of the large organizations use a CRP platform, some shape of either internally developed or basically externally sourced, to manage enterprise risk. Underneath all of that is you significantly leverage AI, right? So AI basically is doing the calculations or the quantification of risk, assigning those risks, obviously preparing reports and summaries automatically, sending those reports and summaries automatically to the respective heads, and so on and so forth, right? So it's an area which sometimes we consider a boring area. I don't know. I'm sorry if you are a risk professional, has been significantly transformed through technology and moved into a framework called Risk ERP. It's like a GL for risk management in large enterprises. That's what we use. That's what most of the banks in Australia are using. They have very clearly defined categories, and they have systems to manage all of those ones. Some basically example applications are on the slide on the bottom of it. Moving on to the next one. Hardcore accounting. I'm pretty sure you are using some sort of accounting platform. Might be SAP, might be Workday, might be Oracle Finance, or maybe Mayob or Xero, or any of the American platforms, right? All of those platforms, whether that's used for small business, medium businesses, large enterprises, are cloud-based platforms. Those platforms are connected to your banks, connected to your sales area, platform, inventory management platform, all the other basically associated platforms, right? In our case, we have multiple systems. Being a telecommunication company, we have multiple systems, right? However, all of them are basically connected and transferring data every night. So GL gets a feed every night. from the financial systems, the payment systems, the procurement systems, all the POs, all the relevant systems are basically feeding information to the GL. So end of the night, you get a full feed, right? So when we come to the month end, all 30 days, 31 days, depending on how you close your books, right, are fed through. When we basically do this regular nightly updates, we also have basically capabilities in place to identify unusual transaction, identify wrong classifications, and so on and so forth. So if there is an unusual transaction landing somewhere, let's say you made a capital purchase and landed in your fixed assets, it'll identify that as an unusual transaction and basically flag it. So those capabilities make the financial accounting task much more easier. When it comes to the month end, your prepayment, your recurring journals, your adjustment journals, all of that can be done using AI algorithms, and that's what we do. We used to have a large team, probably about 100 to 200 people for our organization doing the month-end activities. Our month-end team was based out of India back in the day, and IBM was basically running it. And we had teams going through transactions, doing journal entry processing, all of that. All those teams are gone. All of that are done basically automatically now. Now, whether you are a large organization like us or a medium organization or small organization, these capabilities exist on your GL or platform, whatever you use. If you're not using any of that, I think it is time to think about moving to the right platform, right? When you move to the right platform, those platforms take care of most of those activities themselves, right? It can do transaction classification, it can do real-time reconciliation, it can do the anomaly detection, automated journal, reversing journals, your depreciation journals, your bad debt provisions, your tax provisions, you name it, you can automate all of it. Because there is a pattern, there is a way to do it. I'm sure there are certain things you cannot do, but that is very, very minimal now. That's kind of how the GL side has been taken care of. We had an army of people doing all of that, and now we just get the P&L on day zero. So our month-end closure is on day zero. So our books are closed on the first day of the following month, because by night, we had the final feeds go through. So it used to take 10 days, 10 working days, right? So that means 10 days into the following month. And we couldn't still finalize. So we've saved significant number of days. As a result, we get much more accurate in financial information much more quickly. Tax compliance. Now, as I said at the start, I saw an AI agent as a tax consultant last week for Australia. And this AI agent, I'm sure there are more than one, agent can basically file your tax return based on your basically whether you're a small business, whether you're a personal, large business, doesn't matter. It can do all of that. Can connect to the Australian Tax Office, we call it ATO, and do the filing for you. Now that's one side. The other side is how Inland Revenue like ATO manage their functions, right? Now there is a significant transformation taking place in that area as well. I've listed 5. So the IRS US, ATO Australia, so Canadian Revenue Authority, and the Inland, the UK Authority, right? So those and the Singapore one, they are the most advanced revenue collection agencies globally. And Australian one is one of them. So what we have is this ATO connected to every single bank transaction in Australia. Our ATO is connected to all the stock transactions, buys and sells in the stock market. It's connected to crypto markets. It's connected to all the other markets. It's connected to government in transactions like property transactions as well. And it collects all of that information real time. So all the banks have to send feeds, right? So what they have is basically everyone's transactions basically stored. And what they do after that is run AI algorithms to prepare summaries for everyone, individuals, companies, like. So when we get to the financial year, tax year, which is 30th June in our case, it gives us a pre-filled tax return. In the pre-filled tax returns, we have the employment income already populated. We already have, so because we have a single payroll mechanism, so that all the companies have and their payrolls are connected to the tax office automatically. So it's called the single payroll. The pre-filled automated tax return has employment income. It has the dividend income from your stock investments. It has all the crypto buys and sells, stock buys and sells. It has interest income, property transactions, all pre-populated. So, and all what you have to do is validate and then correct them if they have made any mistakes, right? What that means is the tax authority has information of every individual and every company, and it's very hard to evade tax. So that's why they are basically the top revenue collection authorities globally. So their collection efficiency is much more higher. So as a result, the fraud rate is significantly lower. When they do audits, they pick the ones that basically have the biggest variance to their calculation. It's much more easier to basically do audits for them. And also it has, so many customer engagement capabilities. You can basically chat with the chatbot, or you can basically ask a lot of tax law related questions from them through those avenues as well. So that's kind of the revenue collection side of things. I wanted to cover a slightly different angle on the tax compliance of things as well. So it's Sri Lanka has to go a long way, and I think Sri Lanka has the manpower, the capability to do catch up with some of these advanced tax collecting authorities. Moving to the auditing. And auditing is very similar, right? So auditing is a process, basically, right? So you basically, if you're an auditor, you follow a process. You have a plan, you know what your scope is, and you basically have a plan and execution path on that scope, and you do control testing, you check, verify transactions, you're basically making professional judgment, and you're basically writing reports and so on and so forth. Vast majority of that can be automated, or has been automated by some of those big firms and the other platforms, right? You can do end-to-end planning easily. You can connect easily to your clients' financial systems, and then collect the current financial year. You already have, as an auditor, previous tax records, audit records in your files, right? And then you have your people, your staff members, juniors, managers already on the same platform. And you can basically easily do an automated plan for your customers, right? For your audit client. And then you can carry out some of the transaction verifications easily online. You don't have to go and manually do them anymore. You can verify them through your platforms. You can also do control testing to a large extent. Professional judgment, yeah, probably not like a very seasoned auditor, but it can basically give you some recommendations as well. External reporting, internal reporting. I mean, you can basically generate internal management letters, any other, queries that you have. You can generate all of them through these days ChatGPT like, prompts, right? External reporting also, you can get the output straight away, but, obviously someone has to get in and, verify all of that. So most of these things are automated, but there are certain areas where people judgment is involved, if they are not basically fully not automatable, right? So I basically listed top big five and few other platforms there. So that's mainly for big five and the audit practices, and where you're involved in a mid-size practice. You might not have the investment capability to build your own platform, but you might be able to get something similar in the marketplace as a subscription service for this kind of platforms. Moving away from kind of typical financing into a slightly different area, forensic accounting or forensic investigations, if you want to call it. And this is something I got personally involved, right? The Vita Group is a company that was a listed company in Australia, and we wanted to acquire this company. So we went through a process of evaluating the doing evaluation on the company, negotiating with the management on the acquisition, landing on a basically deal with them. And a week before the deal got announced to the market, someone leaked that information to the market. So it was a disclosure of sensitive non-public information, a criminal activity. So it was, and then as a result, this share price of this company crashed on that day. And it was a significant embarrassment to us because it was seen by the market as a failure to protect sensitive information within the organization. So we had to take some action. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we did not have any evidence of the person who leaked it. We only had one piece of evidence. That was the name of the journalist who published the article on the newspaper on that day. So what we did was we did a link analysis of the journalist. So we went to Facebook, LinkedIn, and basically did a big search on being a technology company. We have the capabilities to do it. We have the tools to do it. Big search on this individual and associates who work in our company. So we identify about 5 people. So when we identify 5 people, we use basically other associated data like phone records, phone calls, distance of calls, and things like that to basically identify the culprit. Within a week or so, we managed to basically identify the person who leaked the information to the journalist and took immediate action to fire the person. So there are multiple investigations that are done, like employees basically doing any theft within the organizations or any bribery, corruption issues, any other things associated with that, using high-end AI technologies and basically kind of some investigative tools, right? And I've listed a few for your interest, but these tools enable you to basically get to outcomes much more faster. Gen AI in the business, right? So if you are not using ChatGPT, I think you must start using it. Those tools can do very, very significant amount of work that you do today. You can write policies, can do tax management, as I said before, write business processes, write board papers, do the month-end commentary, you do the month-end itself, all of that. And those tools make you significantly efficient. We have given 21,000 licenses to most of our staff. We haven't given basically Copilot licenses to our sales staff, but we have given it to everyone else. Before we did that, we did a test and we realized that people could save at least 2 to 3 years every day using these technologies, right? So that's about 25% to 30% of productivity improvement in every single individual. So that's kind of some applications in different areas of finance, and there are other areas that you might be interested in when you can ask questions. But I thought I'll probably move on to the next section, tools for finance. I call this essential 5. First and foremost, you must have good data in your organization. You must use good data and use that data to do complex. You can't do AI without data. That's number 1. There are multiple tools here that I've listed, and I'm sure you're using Power Queries and things like that in Excel in your workplace. But there are other tools that you can use. Right? So get data right. And then the first step of using data is getting insights right. There are multiple tools for that. I listed a couple, but there are other tools. Right? And then the third one is you have to get Gen AI tools to make you much more productive. So within those insight tools, you have AI capabilities, right? And then if you can't basically meet all your requirements, AI requirements or intelligent requirements sufficiently through those tools, but then most of the tool platforms give you auto machine learning capabilities. I have basically done listed Azure machine learning. It's basically uh, interface driven technique, and you can do your own machine learning if you're interested. And then the last one is basically how do you're going to have multiple tools. How do you basically bring all of these tools together as a framework? So I call them basically essential five. Then moving on to the next one, you have to have a plan, right? And this is an example, so don't take this as your plan, but this is an example, right? So what's your objective? Purpose is to basically get um, make your efficient or finance organization much more efficient. Empowering financial decisions at the speed of light is what I basically put it on there. In order to do that, you need to get basically data right. That's number one. And number two is you have to have the right tools, right, in your organization, right? And obviously, last one is the real processes. You need to probably do a process transformation in your organization. You can't basically use these shiny tools and use the old processes to use those tools, right? So you need to basically transform your processes there as well. And kind of the results you can achieve, right? If you don't basically aim for these results, no point having basically data in the cloud and having the right tools and the processes in place because you won't get the outcomes you need. It's kind of a simple scorecard for you to think about it for your organization. So if you basically get to 100% cloud, use all the AI tools, and transform your processes, you're going to be a world-class finance organization that leverages AI, and you will basically be one of those finance organizations, finance people who will basically embrace technology and be ready for the next phase of the transformation in the global economy. I'll pause there and open up for any questions. So I hand over to Jehan. Maybe Jehan, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Prabhash, and very, very interesting presentation. Very proud of the journey that you have traveled, since our time in John Keel's. Amazing insight. If I could just start with a little bit of your journey, right? You were a finance professional, very technical, and you were an extremely good finance professional. How did you make the journey to AI? And this is quite early on, even before AI, was a thing, because that learning will be important for all of those people who are, we have more than 350 people logged in about how they should plan their respective careers.
Jehan, a lot of people ask this question from me, right? So I don't know whether it is my luck. I did IT at that time. Right? So when I came to John Keys, when I was at EY, I did IT as well. My thinking was actually, I wasn't thinking much about it. I had 2 years or 3 years to do my final. I didn't have articles to do my chartered final, so I had 2, 3 years to basically get my 2, 3 years of articles I needed. So I didn't have anything else to do. I thought, okay, so the only thing that was going on at that time was IT, so I did IT. So it might be my maybe just by chance, but I thought rather than wasting 3 years of my time, let me do something else that might come handy one day. And then so I did it. And then on the back of it, when this was basically 1999 at EY, I had the opportunity to basically go into IT audits and basically audit most of the banks during the Y2K time. So rather than wasting my time, I basically spent that time on something and was never going to basically cross path with my finance journey, and it paid immediate, it gave me immediate results in 1999, 2000. When I came to finance back into John Keels, I came back into finance, Jan, but I always had that thought that, oh, I can always go to IT. So in 2015, when I was kind of looking for a promotion, I wasn't getting a promotion in finance. Finance didn't have promotional opportunities. And business gave me an opportunity in a totally unknown area called data and AI. My thinking was then, now I always could go back to finance if I failed. So I took the chance to go in there. But I didn't want to fail, so I just gave my full. But luckily I had the finance IT background.
So important lessons, continuous learning, keeping up to date with what's going on in the market, taking some chances, but maintaining a strong core in your finance area.
Yeah.
Now,
I think taking
yeah,
chances is the main one, I would say. Yeah, no matter what that is, right? So you might not be basically proficient in that, and just put your hand up. Worst case scenario, you're going to basically fail, right? So you can try again.
it's a great mindset and a great lesson for the young people tuned in. If you look at some of the technologies that have evolved, right? If you look at, for instance, RPA that came with a big thing maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we were looking at that taking over a lot of work. But the reality was that it was very expensive. Sometimes we in Sri Lanka thought it's more cost effective to actually have a human there. Even simple things like if there was the space between characters, it didn't really read and understand. So a lot of those RPA projects failed. That was the experience that we had. So technology has generally not lived up to some of the hype, right? I think the hype has been, much bigger than the reality. Now, coming to AI, looking at the costs of some of these technologies, what do you think about the actual deployment, the actual results, the actual outcomes, the ROI? Is there an ROI from some of these?
So Jahan, I've done extensive studies on innovation, right? So innovation cannot be done on an established place, right? So in an established place, usually you have RPPs, resources, processes, and priorities, right, in place already. If you take an established organization, right, so these RPPs are there. You have resources like people, right, geared to certain, activities, like you are specialized in certain knowledge, right? There are certain processes, annual planning processes, capital allocation processes, business evaluation, processes. All these processes basically tell you to get 20% return on your capital investment, otherwise you can't invest, right? And then the organization go and basically commit those priorities to the market if you're a listed company, right? Those RPPs are prohibiting, basically limiting your innovation, right? So in order to innovate and kind of embrace new technologies, which are not maybe super good when they first come out, you need to basically do it through a different mechanism, different structure, different model, right? So if you basically approach the innovation in the correct way, right? These limited technologies that initially come out, RPA was an example where it wasn't good, wasn't basically giving the output the organization need, very expensive, right? That's how the innovation is at the start. Innovation is crap at the start, but it eventually catches up, eventually improves, right? So everything improves eventually. So in order to innovate, you cannot basically innovate within an established organizational structure where RPP, resources, processes, priorities, limit yourself to innovate. Because if you try to innovate in an organization, and business case will fail, they won't give you capital allocation for that because these technologies are expensive, right? So you cannot do it. So you need to basically kind of innovate slightly differently. I don't know whether I directly answered your question, Jahan. I answered the question slightly differently. So in order to innovate, those innovative technologies are not as good, is crappy, right? And you will have to find the right organizational structure to innovate.
Understood. Now,
Yeah.
there's a question from two people regarding the future of our profession or as finance professionals. one question, are there any will accountants lose jobs when AI establishes? There's another question, quote by Bill Gates, AI will replace finance professionals in 10 years. What's your view? Will there be other opportunities where AI can't really replace the finance professional owing to the judgment element, right? So will AI replace accountants, or what can accountants do to retain our profession, to retain our unique space?
I don't think AI will completely replace finance professionals. I don't think so, right? But it'll do certain things we do easily. Like, if you're a tax, if you're specialized in tax, it'll do tax calculations easily, right? But it will not be able to replace the new thinking around tax regulations, thinking around tax cases. It'll basically do tax cases based on the historical tax cases we have, but it will never think about a new tax case, right? It needs previous knowledge to come up with the answers, but it won't basically go into new greenfield areas, right? As I showed you on the other chart, Jan, we have come up with different regulations, different frameworks, different basically obligations for organizations over the years, and have remained the custodian of the organization, right? Custodian of the corporate world. I think we will basically continue to evolve the regulatory landscape. We will continue to redefine the finance role. But what you do today will be done by an AI. But doesn't mean you will lose your job.
On that same topic, now two questions are related topics about what courses of study or what programs should we do proactively for us to be ready for the next wave as finance professionals. Are there any technology platforms, qualifications, certifications that we should embark on?
Yes, so I can give you a two-sided answer to that, John. Like, if you are an accountant without much technology background, right? So you're going to be a user of technology, right? Rather than a developer of technology, right? So if you are a user of technology, there are many freely available applications available for you to, experiment with and learn and adopt them in your workplace. Right? So let's start off with ChatGPT, right? So if ChatGPT can be easily used to do most of the finance activities, like generated activities, text-based, number-based activities. If you want to basically do beyond that, there are other applications, and you can easily search and you can use ChatGPT to search those tools, themselves and do it, right? So you become proficient in basically using technology and using the right technology for your work, and become much more efficient yourself. So that can be done. You don't have to do any courses. You can, if you have, if I were you, I'd probably allocate a day a week, right, to learn new things, new tools, and probably trial them in the workplace, work with your team, and see whether they work well for you. So that's one side of the thing. If you are a technology developer, if you want to be a technology developer, now you need to basically you need to define how technical you want to be. Do you want to be an AI engineer? Now that's about 3-4 years of studies, right? Or do you want to basically understand how the development is done and have basic or intermediary understanding? There are many online courses. Udemy has. There are so many online platforms basically available. LinkedIn has courses. You can basically take those courses and become semi-professional in those areas, right? So that's how I break it down, Jehan, right? So if you want to basically be a user, you can do it today. So you just go and search and find out what works. Start off with ChatGPT, or any other basically publicly available tools to basically start playing around and use them in your workplace. If you want to basically learn more technical skills, there are online platforms available, and most of the global platforms have courses for various courses. Just figure out what the area is, and it might be Python coding, it might be basically web development, it might be basically SAP development, so on and so forth. So you just pick the language, so pick the area, and pick the most popular course and do it.
Now, coming to the challenges of AI, right? Now we've learned about things like AI hallucination, where it gives you completely, answers which are just not real, right? There was a lawyer who was telling me that he was checking out some cases and it gave these were the particular cases, and some of those cases did not exist. And this whole thing of hallucination. So Professor Kennedy has a related answer. I think that AI can make big issues in future into misclassification. Yes, Professor, maybe you could just elaborate on your question. Regarding
Shall I
financial
ask the
reports.
one question? Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Prabhas. Good presentation. I have one question, especially the challenges and barriers what we are facing today, especially country as a whole. Now we talk about more in AI. In your presentation also, you have explained very well about the AI applications and all kind of things. I know in some companies also applying already. They're using kind of AI. ChatGPT, I think, very popular in Sri Lanka. I think even the law firm also using right now. Now, my question is, sometimes, when you're using AI, assume that AI misclassification, transactions, or a miscalculation about the financial reports. That's very dangerous. And in sometimes, when you go to AI in very high level, maybe the stock market can crash and the different issues can be arise. Now, there are certain challenges. Do you think in our country, our organization who are in charge of the, technological institute or maybe government organizations, certain authorities, do you think they have some plan? If they don't have, then what kind of a plan you are going to suggest? And what challenges, what barriers we are facing to implement the proper AI in the at least not right now, next 5-6 years a period. We can't see anything. In university also we teach AI now in our accounting students. They learn 2 modules about AI, right? Artificial intelligence and artificial neural network. And this is data sciences like all decision algorithms and all. Now, what is your thinking about that for our country for a 5 years period? What kind of AI policy we need, and to implement the good AI policy, what challenges or barriers we are facing? That's what my basic question.
Yeah. So no, it's a really good question, and I don't know whether I have the full answer to that, Professor Kennedy, but I'll try and give an answer, right? So every country, every organization, every individual should have a framework around responsible AI. So AI must be first responsible and must be ethical. Right? So that's the framework. Now, the organization I work for, we have a responsible AI framework. Right? So if you develop a new AI capability, we have to do extensive testing independently and including third-party certifications to make sure that we take care of hallucination-like scenarios, right? So before we basically give access to people or our customers, we have to basically get certification from independent third parties that it's not basically going to racially discriminate or sexually discriminate and so on and so forth. So we have a responsible AI framework, right, as an organization. Now, as a country, we have basically legal frameworks around it, right? So legal frameworks include our privacy law, are basically other protection laws, and are basically upcoming new privacy framework that caters to responsible use of data, responsible use of AI technologies, and so on and so forth, including getting customer consent for those ones. Now, so that's so there is a national level regulation, AI regulation, and most of the countries are still in the process of developing that. EU basically has an act, but it's just the act, right? So they are in the process of developing more regulatory frameworks, right? Now, in the Sri Lankan context, I think Sri Lanka has to basically have a national legal framework around it. What are the consequences of basically, releasing AI or AI basically related accidents, and and then fines and kind of penalties around that. So there has to be a national policy, national legal framework for Sri Lanka, right? I'm not sure where these things are, from a Sri Lankan point of view, but that Australian point of view, we are basically kind of developing that, and the plan is to basically release all of that within a year. Now, organizational level, similar to the national level, there should be a framework, and then there should be mechanisms in place to verify those compliances, right? As I said before, in our case, before we release anything to any customers or any people within the organization, we basically do internal testing extensively. The team developing it also do the testing first, and there's a third team which is responsible AI team that comes and independently does that. If the case is basically significantly riskier, we get a third party to certify it. So that's our internal process. Now, when you're using as a user, so this is national level, the organization level, now the individual level. Now you're going to use ChatGPT. You're going to basically ask ChatGPT to do a tax calculation. It's going to give you a random number, right? But as a user of these tools, all the users, right, must, as a professional, verify those numbers before you basically actually use these numbers. So it's an inherent weakness in AI platforms to hallucinate. And you must be aware of it, and you must basically take steps to verify your AI-driven work. So that there are the three levels. Now, there should be a national policy, national legal framework, and it's predominantly within the privacy framework as well as AI legislation. And then organization level, the organization must have AI risk as a category, right? So I showed you the risk ERP. AI risk should be within that, and then should probably have a threshold, the processes around that to mitigate that. And as individual, you're going to use multiple AI tools, right? So as an individual, you must check it. I think, as professional bodies, when we basically kind of develop the next curriculum, Professor Kennedy, I'm part of your department as well. Like, when you teach, I think I'm sure you teach these things as part of that responsible AI education. Hopefully
Thank
I
you.
answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabha.
Thank you very much indeed. So we have time for one more question, or there are quite a few questions coming in. How can we use AI tools in internal audits in banks? That was one question, and I'll combine it with this. Are there any free AI tools to use in income and expenditure statements?
Yeah. So if you Jan, if you elaborate on what income and expenditure statement, like put in transactions and asking AI to do the GL or PNL.
Yes, my understanding. So the question is exactly this: are there any free AI tools to use in income and expenditure? So my reading of it is analysis of P&L.
Yeah, you can use ChatGPT easily. Yeah, it's pretty good. So you just chuck your whatever the numbers, like maybe from a bank transactions, and ask AI to basically kind of do a summary. It'll do a summary perfectly. But make sure you double check the numbers, right? So for not basic, most of the generative text numbers work. ChatGPT is pretty good. It's good. I use a free tool called Napkin AI for PowerPoint and design work. It's a free tool, Napkin AI. And then I also use, let me basically, Grok, which is Elon Musk. I don't know whether you are a pro Musk or not, so it doesn't matter, but this AI tool is pretty good. Grok is good. Perplexity is good for research work. And then if you want a, McKinsey consultant type PowerPoint, Beautiful AI gives you all the PowerPoint templates and generates, but it's not free. So they are the commonly used one. And if most of the startups we use AI for coding anyway. So we don't have a lot of programmers. We use Cursor AI.
Fantastic. One last question and we'll wind up just on time. How does one create a roadmap for transition from a local accounting system to a AI based automation driven system? Are there any freewares and are there any frameworks that can be used to help with this process?
Yeah, so look, one of the AI companies that I work for, that the one I mentioned that works like an AI consultant, that does exactly that, like, how to do basically digital transformation from and to, right? It's a detailed topic. There are frameworks for digital transformation, right? So you need to basically kind of define your end state first. And then, you need to basically kind of do a roadmap to get to the end state and then do probably kind of, manage through a program of work. But clearly defining end state requires a lot of market research, a lot of basically analysis of what your organization does versus what's available in the marketplace. Yeah, there are so McKinsey will have basically a lot of freely available content on their website, McKinsey Consulting. Also EY, PwC, KPMG will also have a lot of frameworks on their websites as well that you can freely use.
Thank you very
And
much
also,
indeed.
sorry,
Prabhash, it was
Perplexity,
fantastic. Sorry.
ask that question from Perplexity and it'll give you a framework.
Such a pleasure speaking to you and to listening to you and all the knowledge that you've gathered. Thank you for so freely sharing your knowledge and years of research. Really great speaking to you, and hopefully this will be the first of many sessions with CMA. Professor, over to you.
Thanks, Jehan. Good to see you again.
It's
Thank you, Jehan, for conducting that and moderating the session. And I think you have asked some very good questions. Because we are very happy, Prabhas, that you were able to make it. Now, there are certain, actually, in Sri Lanka, what they are currently trying to do, they of course say that they are going to digitize all maybe the government departments and other areas. Now, in that sort of setup, can AI expedite the process that they are doing?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, Professor, most of the startups that I'm part of, we don't use humans anymore. We use basically AI tools to do the coding and define IT infrastructure design and all of that, right? So for a digitization program like that, which I have been part of in Australia, so you don't need many people, a lot of money now. But if you cleverly plan it and leverage technology, you can do it much more faster.
Right. Thank you. I think Mr. Kosala is also there. Kosala, you have any questions you want to ask? Are you there or? Right. Okay. So let me, I think we just come to the final stages. So let me thank Prabhash. I think the very good presentation that you gave. One of the areas that most of our students would like to know as to supposing if they want to get more knowledge of AI, what would be the best way? Is it maybe available online that you can do it, or something that you have to attend a class to achieve that knowledge?
Professor, Actually, my book probably will give the basic knowledge, and I'm
Ah.
happy to basically offer it to the members and students as well. As a CMA publication that will have a framework and examples as well. In addition to that, I think as I said, online platforms are available these days. But if you have a good understanding of different areas, you can basically kind of go and learn specific skills. But online platforms give a lot of free courses and resources for anyone to further progress down the track.
Now, one final question that I want to ask you is on the future, Now, a lot of them are saying that, predicting that maybe in the future, the jobs that people are currently doing will not be there. So what is really meant by then? Would they be able to then advance to the next stage, or would it be that some jobs will be totally going out of the be thrown out and new ones will be coming in?
As I said earlier, Professor, like, the bookkeeper role is not there anymore, right? So we used to
Yeah,
have a lot of
yeah,
bookkeepers back in the day, right? We
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
any more big bookkeepers, right? Like that, the law in like in AP clerks, AR clerks, right? So inventory clerks, I don't know whether they are there now, right? So they won't be there, right? So those low repetitive tasks will go away because technology will take care of it. But then, if you are a professional with very heavy professional knowledge, you will have a job, but it will be a different job. So that job will be defined by the regulations, it'll be defined by the market needs, it'll be defined by the technology available. But that means you will have to learn new skills. But we have done that, right? We have done that, for many, many decades, right? So if you've been in the profession for 10, 15 years, you have done that without your knowledge, right? And you will get there.
Right. So thanks, Prabhash, because I think since our the profession is there, we feel that professionals will be required or
Absolutely.
professionals will be in need, but maybe the people who are lower down
Yeah.
may be losing their jobs. So we should maybe look at the new technologies that are there and then give it to them. So let me thank you, because one thing is for the very excellent maybe presentation that you did, and also for your kind thoughts about those who want to learn more, that where they can read the book and where CMA can publish your book, AI for finance professionals. So we are very thankful to you, and maybe we can have some sort of function when you're here and carry it out. Then I must also thank Jehan, because I think we have brought the two of you together after a long time, which I thought
Yeah.
maybe.
I think after 12 months, Jahan, you were at my launch, weren't you?
I was, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, that's a good thing. And we are very happy. Jehan is really helping us in many areas, and where he is doing a lot of programs on digital technology and AI, especially for the students. So that's an area that he's been playing a major role. So we are very thankful. And when I told him about this also, he readily agreed. So thanks, Jehan, for all the support that we are given. And I must also thank all our participants, because I think we had almost close upon 700 who were registered, but maybe I think about 360 to 370 participants were there. So which shows that there is a great interest in this area. And maybe in time to come, I'm sure that you said that you will be prepared to speak to our members, and also the large number from the corporate sector also who were there, so that they may also be able to get to know what is really happening. So once again, we thank you and we wish you all the very best, because we will be having some celebrations for the 25th year. And if you are in Sri Lanka, certainly you will be able to join. So keep in touch with us, so that we will be able to then work towards meeting up and also the other areas. But we will be really in touch because we are looking at the professionals. Now, Jehan is really in the BPM industry. Do you think that this BPM industry also will be going up to a higher level because some of the jobs may be lost? Or, Jehan, I don't know what you are
Very much
thinking of,
so.
what impact it will have on your
Yes,
industry.
so correct, absolutely. There were two main items in our strategy for this year. Our financial year is beginning with April. So two main items. One was automation. We want to disrupt ourselves before the customers and the industry starts disrupting us, right? So as you say, it's going to have a big effect on our industry. Already we are seeing certain processes being automated. So we have to be proactive. We have to move up the value chain to more knowledge intensive services, and we have to start disrupting ourselves with the more routine work and giving that benefit back to the client. If we don't do it, the client will do it and we will not be relevant.
Do you have any comments on that, Prabhash?
No, I think he's spot on, Professor. And Jehan, I think you can easily get into AI, right? So AI BPM work, right? So but you're specialized in AI related BPM work, and then using the AI to basically disrupt your own organization. So yes, you're spot on.
So thank you, thanks again, and because when we see you and we talk to you, we have more and more questions, but I think the time is up. So once again,
Thank you,
thank you. I know
Professor.
that it's quite late there. I don't know what the time is like now. Is it around 7 or 8 o'clock or
No,
later
it's 10
than that?
o'clock. It's a 10.
10
It's
o'clock.
10.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I think so. Then we must knock off. So thanks very much to everyone. Thanks to Jehan and also Mr. Kosala who is there and all the participants.
Thank you.
We will keep. Can we send the presentations? Will you be able to give us the presentations which we can send? Because we normally we send the recording. If you
I'll
can
send
send
it
it to us.
to,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Right. Okay. So thank you. And then we will keep in touch and all the very best. And as I said, I will get Shanti to contact you and then maybe we will see in future because we are handling the CPD area she's handling and she'll be able to also give you any information. Thanks and
Thank
all the
you.
very best. Okay,
Thank you very
then.
much, Professor.
Thank you.
Right.
You,
Right.
Jan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jehan.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you, Prabhash. Yes.
Thank
See
you.
you. Bye, Professor.
Thank you.
So we will then close up. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.